The bedroom was empty. Not just empty like someone stepped out for water. Empty like nobody had slept there at all. The bed was made so neat, with the corners tucked in tight, the way Mama Grace always did it. Her slippers sat side by side near the door. Her glasses rested on the small table. Everything looked normal, except Mama Grace was gone. Joy stood in the doorway, her phone still in her hand, her mouth open. She had come to wake her grandmother for breakfast like she did every Sunday, but now her legs felt heavy, like they were filled with sand. "Mama," Joy called out, even though she knew. Something in her chest already knew. She checked the bathroom. Empty. She looked in the small prayer room where Mama Grace sometimes sat on her mat in the early morning. Nothing. She ran to the kitchen. The pots were clean and stacked. No sign anyone had cooked. "Daniel! Daniel! Come here!" Joy's voice cracked as she called her brother. Daniel rushed in from the living room, still holding his game controller. "What? What happened?" "Mama Grace is not here." "What do you mean, not here?" "Maybe she went outside." They both knew that was not true. Mama Grace was 72 years old. Her knees hurt when she walked too much. She never went anywhere without telling someone. Joy's hands started shaking. "Her phone. Where is her phone?" They searched again, this time faster, with panic making their movements rough and clumsy. They pulled open drawers, looked under pillows, checked every corner. The phone was gone. Her small black handbag was gone. And when Daniel checked the wooden box where she kept her important papers, he found something that made his blood run cold. Her bank card was gone too. "She planned this," Daniel whispered. This was not by mistake. Joy felt tears hot in her eyes. But why? Why would she just leave without saying anything? That question hung in the air like smoke, heavy, choking. Their mother, Sarah, lived 20 minutes away in another part of Lagos. When her phone rang at 8 a.m. on a Sunday morning, she knew something was wrong before she even answered. "Mama is gone." Sarah felt her whole body go stiff. "What do you mean gone? Gone where?" "We don't know," Joy was crying now. "We woke up and she's not here. Her bag is gone. Her phone is gone. Everything." Sarah's husband, Mike, saw her face change and sat up in bed. "What? What is it?" "My mother is missing," Sarah said, and hearing those words out loud made it feel real, too real. "I'm coming now." She threw on clothes, not caring that her shirt was inside out or that she forgot to brush her teeth. Mike drove fast through the Sunday morning streets of Lagos, running 2 yellow lights. The whole time, Sarah's mind was racing. Her mother had lived with Joy and Daniel for the past 3 years, ever since Sarah's father died. It made sense. The kids were young adults who needed someone to cook and keep the house clean, while Sarah and Mike worked their stressful jobs in the city. And Mama Grace needed family around her. Everyone won that way, right? But now Sarah felt something cold spreading in her stomach. A question she did not want to ask. A question that scared her. What did we do? When Sarah and Mike arrived, the house felt different, like someone had sucked all the air out. Joy sat on the couch with red eyes. Daniel paced back and forth, his phone pressed to his ear. "No, Uncle Joseph. We already checked there." "Yes, I know." "Yes." "Okay." He hung up and looked at his mother. "Uncle Joseph has not seen her. I called Auntie Blessing too." Nothing. Sarah went straight to her mother's room. She stood in the doorway, exactly where Joy had stood an hour before. The neat bed, the slippers, the glasses. It hit her like a punch. This was a goodbye. She left a note, Mike called from the kitchen. Everyone rushed over. On the small kitchen table, held down by a salt shaker, was a piece of paper torn from a notebook. The handwriting was shaky but clear. I have gone. Do not look for me. I am tired. God bless you all. Mama. That was it. 11 words. No explanation, no address, no hint of where or why. Tired? Sarah read it again. Tired of what? Joy's voice was small. Mama. She's been looking different lately. Sad. I thought maybe her knees were hurting her. Did she say anything at all about leaving? No, she was just quiet. She's been quiet for weeks. But I thought that was just how she is now. Since Grandpa died. Sarah felt guilt crash over her like a wave. When was the last time she actually sat down and talked to her mother? Really talked. Not just quick phone calls about what to cook or whether the kids had eaten. She could not remember. Daniel called the police. They took down the information, but said they needed to wait 24 hours before starting an official missing person case. She's an adult, the officer said on the phone. She left a note. She probably just went to stay with a friend. She's 72 years old, Daniel shouted. She has bad knees. She doesn't just travel. But the officer was not moved. Rules were rules. Sarah started making calls. First to her siblings, her 2 brothers, and 1 sister. Uncle Joseph lived in Abuja, too far away. Auntie Blessing came right away, her face tight with worry. Uncle Solomon was traveling for work, but promised to help from wherever he was. Then they called Mama Grace's church members, her old neighbors from the house where Sarah grew up, her friend Mrs. Johnson, who she used to visit every month. Nobody had seen her. Did you check the bus stations? Auntie Blessing asked. Maybe she went back to the village? Sarah's heart squeezed. The village. That small town where Mama Grace was born, where she married Sarah's father at 19, where she raised 4 children in a tiny house with no running water. They had brought her to Lagos after Papa died, telling her life would be easier in the city, that she would be comfortable, that she would be with family. I'll call someone in the village, Sarah said. She called her cousin, Brother Samuel, who still lived there. He checked Mama Grace's old family home, a small mud house that was now mostly falling apart, empty. By noon, they had called everyone, checked everywhere they could think of. Nothing. Her phone, Mike said suddenly. Can we track it? Daniel jumped up. Yes. If it's on, we can see where she is. They tried, but Mama Grace's phone was off. Or maybe the battery was dead. Either way, it showed no location. Sarah felt panic growing in her chest, making it hard to breathe. Her mother was out there somewhere, alone, old, maybe hurt, maybe. No, she could not think that. As the sun got higher and the day got hotter, Sarah sat in Mama Grace's room, trying to calm down, trying to think. She picked up her mother's glasses from the table. They were old glasses, with tape on one side, where Daniel had accidentally broken them last year. Sarah had meant to take her mother to get new ones, but there was always something else. Always work, always bills, always something more urgent. She remembered something from 2 months ago. Mama Grace had asked if Sarah could take her to the eye doctor. My eyes are getting worse, she had said softly. I can barely see to read my Bible. Sarah had said, Soon, Mama, I promise. Let me finish this big project at work first. She never took her. The project finished. Life moved on, and Sarah forgot. Such a small thing, just glasses. But now, sitting in this empty room, it felt huge, like a sign she had missed, like a cry for help she had been too busy to hear. Joy came in and sat beside her mother. For a long moment, neither of them spoke. "Mama," Joy finally said, her voice breaking, I think we messed up." "What do you mean?" Tears rolled down Joy's cheeks. "Last week, I forgot her birthday." Sarah's head snapped up. "What?" "Her birthday was last Tuesday. I remembered in the afternoon, but I was at school and then I met up with friends and I forgot. I came home at night and she was already asleep. The next morning, I wanted to say something, but it felt weird to bring it up late. So I didn't say anything." Sarah felt like someone had stabbed her in the stomach. Her mother's birthday. How did she forget? She had not even gotten a call from Joy or Daniel mentioning it. "I forgot too," Sarah whispered. "She made a cake that day," Joy continued, the words tumbling out now. "A small cake. I saw it in the kitchen in the afternoon. Just a plain cake she made herself. By evening, it was gone. I think she threw it away. Nobody ate it. Nobody even knew it was her birthday except her." Sarah covered her face with her hands. She felt sick. "Did she say anything?" "No. She just smiled when I asked what the cake was for. She said, 'Just felt like baking.' And I just said, 'Okay,' and went to my room." In the doorway, Daniel stood listening. His face looked pale. "I did not know," he said. "I swear I did not know it was her birthday." "That's the problem." Joy stood up, her voice loud now. "None of us knew. None of us cared enough to know. She's been living here for 3 years, and we treat her like... Like what?" Sarah's voice was hard. "Like a maid." The words sat there, ugly and true. Sarah wanted to argue, wanted to say Joy was wrong. But the more she thought about it, the more the truth cut into her. What did they ask Mama Grace to do? Cook, clean, wash clothes, iron, go to the market, take care of the house, make sure the kids ate breakfast, wait up when they came home late, sweep, mop, pray for them. When did they ask how she was feeling? When did they sit with her? Not needing anything, just spending time. When did they take her somewhere nice? Just because. When did they make her feel like she was family and not help? "She does everything for us," Daniel said quietly. "Every single thing." "And what do we do for her?" Joy asked. Silence. Sarah thought about the last 3 years. The arrangement had seemed perfect. Mama Grace was lonely after Papa died. The kids needed someone at home. Sarah was too busy with her job. It made sense. Practical. Simple. But somewhere along the way, helping each other became. Mama Grace serves everyone. She cooked 3 meals a day. She waited until everyone finished eating before she ate. She washed dishes late at night after everyone else had gone to sleep. She asked for so little just money for the market, which Sarah sent every week. She never complained, never said she was tired, never asked for anything extra. And because she never complained, they thought everything was fine. "I shouted at her last month," Daniel said suddenly. He was staring at the floor. She used my laptop to watch something on YouTube. Some old gospel videos. When I found out, I was so angry. I told her she should ask before touching my things. I said it loud, really loud. He stopped, his hand shaking. She just said sorry, over and over. Sorry, sorry, sorry. She looked so small, so scared, and I just walked away. I did not even tell her it was okay to use it. I made her feel bad for watching videos. Joy covered her mouth. Last week, I told her the food was too salty. I did not mean it in a bad way, but I said it like I was annoyed, like she had messed up. She just nodded and said she would fix it. She threw the whole pot away and cooked again, at night, when she should have been resting. More memories came flooding out, small moments, tiny cuts, none of them big enough to notice at the time. But together they formed a picture of an old woman who felt invisible. Sarah remembered 2 weeks ago. She had come to visit, stressed from work. Mama Grace offered her food. Sarah said, "Not now, Mama. I'm not hungry." Her voice had been sharp, impatient. Her mother had just nodded and gone back to the kitchen. What Sarah did not see was how her mother's face fell, how she had spent 2 hours making that food, specifically Sarah's favorite soup, how she had been excited to see her daughter smile when she tasted it. Sarah never asked, never knew, just said no and kept scrolling through her phone. At 3 p.m., Mike's phone rang. Unknown number. "Hello? Is this the family of Grace Okonkwo?" A woman's voice. Mike's heart stopped. "Yes. Who is this? Do you know where she is?" "My name is Sister Ruth. I'm calling from Healing Touch Ministry. Mrs. Grace is here at our guest house." "Is she okay? What happened?" "She is safe, but I think you need to come. She needs to talk to you." Mike got the address. It was a church guest house on the outskirts of Lagos, almost 2 hours away in traffic. He hung up and told everyone. They all rushed to the car, Sarah in front. Joy and Daniel squeezed in the back with Auntie Blessing. Nobody spoke during the drive. There were too many questions, too much fear. Why did she go to a church guest house? Why did she not just call us? What is she going to say? Sarah's hands would not stop shaking. She kept thinking about that note. "I am tired." Tired of what? Of life? No. Please, God, no. The Lagos traffic was brutal. Cars packed together, horns blaring, hawkers moving between vehicles selling water and snacks. Usually, Sarah would be impatient, angry, but now she just stared out the window, praying, "Please let Mama be okay. Please." The church compound was quiet. Simple buildings painted white with a small garden in front. Sister Ruth met them at the gate. She was a kind-looking woman in her 50s, wearing a long skirt and headscarf. "Thank God you're here," she said. "Come." She led them to a small room at the back. The door was half open, and there, sitting on a chair by the window, was Mama Grace. She looked so small, so tired. Her gray hair was covered with a scarf. She wore her old Sunday dress. Her hands rested on her lap, and she stared out the window at nothing. "Mama!" Joy rushed forward, but Sarah grabbed her arm. "Wait." Mama Grace slowly turned her head. When she saw them, her face did not change. No smile, no tears, just empty. "You came," she said softly. Sarah felt her throat close up. "Mama, why? Why did you leave?" Mama Grace looked back out the window. For a long moment, she said nothing. Sister Ruth quietly left the room, giving them privacy. Finally, Mama Grace spoke. "I wanted to die." The words hit like thunder. "No, Mama, no." Joy fell to her knees beside her grandmother, grabbing her hands. "Don't say that, please." "Not die like that," Mama Grace said, her voice calm, too calm. "I did not want to kill myself, but I wanted to go somewhere and just sleep." and maybe not wake up. And maybe that would be okay. Sarah felt tears streaming down her face. Why, Mama? What did we do? Mama Grace finally looked at her daughter, really looked at her. And Sarah saw it all the pain her mother had been hiding, all the loneliness, all the nights she cried quietly so nobody would hear. I am invisible, Mama Grace said simply. I am here, but I am not seen. I cook, but nobody says thank you. I clean, but nobody notices. I wait, but nobody comes to sit with me. I have been living with you all for 3 years, but I have never felt more alone. Every morning I wake up at 5 a.m., Mama Grace continued. Her voice was soft but steady, like she had been practicing these words for months. I pray. Then I start cooking. I make breakfast for everyone. Daniel likes tea with bread. Joy likes fried eggs. I make it all. By the time they wake up, the food is ready. They eat, say, "Thank you, Mama," very fast, and leave. Nobody asks if I slept well. Nobody asks if I am okay. Just eat and go. Then I clean. I wash dishes. I sweep. I wash clothes. All day I work. My knees hurt, but I do not say anything, because I am Mama. Mamas do not complain, right? In the afternoon, I sit by myself. Sometimes I turn on the TV, but I do not like the programs. They are loud, full of noise. I just want someone to talk to. But Joy is in her room. Daniel is playing games. Everyone is busy. Evening comes, I cook again. Big meal, rice and soup or spaghetti or whatever they like. I make sure it's ready when they are hungry. They eat. They say, "Thank you, Mama." And then they go back to their rooms. At night, I sit in my room. I look at my phone. Pictures of your father. Pictures of when you all were young. I remember when you used to run to me, when you used to tell me stories about school, when you used to laugh with me. Now you just need me. Need me to cook. Need me to clean. Need me to do things. But you do not want me. You do not want to talk. You do not want to laugh together. You do not want to just be with me. She stopped and took a breath. A single tear rolled down her cheek. I thought maybe I was being selfish. Maybe I was asking too much. So I kept quiet. I told myself, be grateful. They gave you a place to stay. They feed you. They take care of you. Do not complain. But then my birthday came. Sarah gasped. Joy began crying harder. I woke up that morning and I thought, maybe today will be different. Maybe today someone will remember. Maybe today someone will sit with me and we can talk and laugh like old times. I made a cake, small one, just for us. I waited. Afternoon came. Nobody said anything. Okay, I thought. Maybe they are planning a surprise for evening. Evening came. Joy came home late. Daniel was in his room. Sarah called, but just to ask what I cooked for dinner. That was all. I sat in the kitchen with that cake. I looked at it for a long time, and I knew. Nobody remembered. Nobody cared. I threw it away, every piece, and I went to my room and I cried until I could not cry anymore. The room was heavy with silence. Daniel's shoulders shook as he cried. Joy clung to her grandmother's knees, sobbing. Auntie Blessing had her hands over her face. Mike stood frozen in shock, and Sarah. Sarah felt like her heart was being ripped out of her chest. "Mama, I'm sorry," she choked out. "I'm so sorry. I did not know." "That is the problem," Mama Grace interrupted gently. You did not know because you did not look. You did not ask. You were too busy with your life. But you never said anything. You never told us you were unhappy." Mama Grace gave a sad smile. "I am your mother. Mothers are not supposed to need things. Mothers are supposed to give, to serve, to sacrifice. That is what I learned. That is what I have done all my life. But I am also human. I am also a woman who gets tired, who gets lonely, who wants to feel loved, not just needed." She stood up slowly, her old knees cracking. She walked to the window and looked out. 3 days ago, I was washing dishes late at night. My back was hurting so much, and I thought to myself, why am I doing this? Why am I still here? I could die tomorrow, and life would just continue. You would hire a maid. Life would go on. Nobody would miss me. They would just miss what I do. That's not true. Daniel finally spoke, his voice raw. "We would miss you. We love you." Mama Grace turned to look at him. "Do you? Or do you love what I do for you?" The question hung there, sharp as a knife. "When was the last time you sat with me and we just talked? About anything? Your life? My life? Stories? Anything?" Daniel opened his mouth, then closed it. He could not remember. "When was the last time you asked me how I am feeling? Not, did you cook? Not, where is my shirt? But, Mama, how are you? Are you okay? Are you happy?" Still no answer. "That is why I left," Mama Grace said, and her voice broke for the first time. "Not because I do not love you, not because you treated me badly, but because I felt like I was disappearing. Like every day, I became less of a person and more of a thing that cooks and cleans and exists just to serve." Sarah collapsed into a chair, her whole body shaking with sobs. "Mama, please, please forgive us. We did not mean." "I know you did not mean it. That is what makes it hurt more. You did not even notice." Joy could not stop crying. Her whole body shook. "I'm sorry, Mama. I'm sorry, I'm sorry, I'm sorry. I should have said something," Mama Grace admitted. "I should have told you how I felt, but I was scared. Scared that if I complained, you would see me as a burden. Scared that you would send me to a home for old people. Scared that I would lose you completely. So I stayed quiet, and the quiet became heavier and heavier until I could not breathe anymore." Daniel got up and hugged his grandmother tightly. "I'm sorry," I shouted at you about my laptop. "I'm sorry I made you feel bad. You can use it any time. For anything. I don't care." Mama Grace patted his back. "It's not about the laptop, my son. I know. I never thought about how you feel. I thought you were fine. I thought you liked cooking for us and taking care of us. I did. I do. But I also want to be more than that. I want to be your grandmother. I want us to talk. I want us to laugh. I want to matter for who I am, not just what I do." Annie Blessing wiped her eyes. She had been quiet this whole time, but now she spoke. "Mama Grace, we all failed you, not just Sarah and the children. Me too. I would call sometimes, but only when I needed something, when I wanted you to pray for me or to ask for advice, but I never called just to check on you." "It's the same everywhere," Mama Grace said sadly. "Everyone is busy. Everyone has problems. I understand, but understanding does not make the loneliness go away." "So why here?" Mike asked quietly. "Why this church guest house?" Mama Grace sat down again, looking tired. "I have a friend, Sister Ruth. We went to the same church back in the village many years ago. When I came to Lagos, we lost touch. But 2 months ago, I found her number and called her. We talked for hours. She told me about this ministry, how they help people who are hurting. I started coming here sometimes. When nobody was home, I would take a bus and come here, just to sit, to pray, to talk to Sister Ruth and the other women. They listened to me. They saw me. They asked me how I was feeling, and they actually wanted to know. Here, I was not invisible. Sarah felt another stab of pain. Her mother had been so lonely that she had to find strangers to talk to. Last week, Sister Ruth said I could stay here if I ever needed space, just to rest, to think. She said the room was always open for me. So when I woke up yesterday morning and I felt that heavy feeling again, that feeling like I could not take one more day of being invisible, I packed my bag. I wrote that note, and I left. You should have told us, Sarah said desperately. We would have. Would you? Mama Grace's eyes were steady. If I told you I was lonely, would you have made time? Or would you have said, sorry, Mama, I'm busy now, we'll talk later? And later never comes. Sarah had no answer, because she knew what she would have said. Sister Ruth knocked softly and came back into the room. Excuse me, there is something else you should know. Everyone looked at her. Sister Ruth looked at Mama Grace. Should I tell them, or do you want to? Mama Grace closed her eyes. You tell them. Sister Ruth took a deep breath. Your mother has been sick. What? Sarah jumped up. What do you mean sick? About 4 months ago, she started having bad stomach pains. She went to the hospital by herself. They did tests. The doctor told her she has a growth, a tumor. They said she needs surgery, but it's expensive. Sarah felt the world spinning. Mama, why did you not tell us? Because, Mama Grace said quietly, I did not want to be a burden. A burden? Mama, you're not a burden. You're our mother. Am I? Because for 3 years I have felt like a servant, not a mother. I felt like if I asked for help, if I needed something, you would see me as a problem. So I tried to handle it myself. Sister Ruth continued. She has been saving the money you give her for the market, eating less so she can save more. She was trying to pay for the surgery herself, but she's still far from the amount she needs. Sarah could not breathe. All this time, her mother was in pain, was sick, was trying to take care of herself because she felt she could not ask her own children for help. The doctor said if she does not do the surgery soon, in maybe 6 months. Sister Ruth could not finish. She did not need to. No, Sarah shook her head. No, no, no. Mama, how could you not tell us? How could I? Mama Grace's voice rose for the first time with pain and frustration. When would I tell you when you call to ask what food to cook? When you see me for 5 minutes on Sunday and then leave? When would I say, by the way, I am sick and I might die and I need help? You were all so busy, so stressed. How could I add more problems? So I decided maybe it was better to just go, to leave quietly, to spare you all the trouble. Joy screamed. No, no, Mama, don't say that. You're not trouble. You're everything. But she could not finish because she was crying too hard. Daniel punched the wall. The sound was loud in the small room. His knuckles bled, but he did not care. This is my fault, he said, his voice shaking. I live with her every day and I never noticed, never asked, never cared. What kind of grandson am I? Annie Blessing pulled him into a hug. It's all our fault. All of us. Mike was on the phone, pacing. Yes, I need information about tumor surgery. Yes, I can come tomorrow. I don't care about the cost, just tell me what needs to be done. Sarah sat on the floor, unable to stand. Her mother, who gave birth to her, who raised her, who sacrificed everything, was sick, dying, alone, and they had all been too busy to notice. Mama, Sarah crawled to her mother's feet. Mama, please, please forgive us. We were wrong, so wrong. I was wrong. You are not a burden. You are not a servant. You are my mother and I love you. Please don't give up. Please. Mama Grace looked down at her daughter, at the broken, crying woman at her feet, and something in her face softened. I am not giving up, she said gently. I just needed you to see me, really see me, not as the woman who cooks your food, but as me, Grace, your mother, a woman with feelings and pain and needs. We see you now, Joy said, kneeling beside Sarah. We see you, Mama, and we're sorry. So sorry. I needed to leave so you would notice I was gone. Mama Grace continued. I needed you to panic, to search, to ask why, because maybe then you would understand. Daniel knelt too. Now all of them were on the ground, surrounding their grandmother, a broken family, finally broken open enough to see the truth. We understand now, Daniel said, and we're going to do better. We're going to be better. Mike got off the phone. I found a hospital, one of the best. They can see us tomorrow. We're going to take care of this, Mama Grace, whatever it costs, however long it takes. You're going to be okay. But more than that, Sarah said, holding her mother's hands tight, we're going to change, really change, not just say sorry and then go back to how things were. I want to take you out, Joyce said. Once a week. Just me and you, Mama. We go somewhere. We talk, we laugh. We do things you want to do. Deal? Mama Grace smiled a little. Deal. And I'm going to teach you how to use my laptop properly. Daniel added, you can watch all the gospel videos you want, and we're going to watch together. You can show me the songs you like. I would like that. And Sarah's voice cracked. I am going to be a better daughter. I am going to call you every day, not to ask about food or housework, but to ask how you are, to listen, to talk, to be your daughter again, not your boss. Auntie Blessing nodded. And I will visit every week, not just when I need something, but to spend time, to be family. Mama Grace looked at all of them, at their tears, their pain, their guilt, and slowly she nodded. Okay, I believe you. They did not go home right away. They all stayed in that small room for hours, talking, really talking. For the first time in years, Mama Grace told them about the village, about her childhood, about meeting their grandfather, stories they had heard before but had forgotten, stories they needed to hear again. She told them about her dreams she gave up to raise children, dreams of maybe learning to read better, of maybe traveling to see the ocean, of maybe just having friends to talk to. I can still do those things, she said. I am old, yes, but I am not dead yet. There is still time. Then we will help you do them, Sarah promised. All of them. When they finally left, as the sun was setting, Mama Grace did not look back at the guest house. She looked forward, at her family, at her second chance. The car ride home was different, not silent, not rushed. They sang, old songs that Mama Grace taught them when they were children. Songs they had forgotten they knew. And for the first time in 3 years, Mama Grace smiled, a real smile. Not the tired automatic smile she wore like a mask, but a real, genuine smile that reached her eyes. The next morning, Sarah did not go to work. She called in and said she had a family emergency. Because she did, she came to the house early. When Mama Grace woke up, she found Sarah in the kitchen, trying to cook breakfast. "What are you doing?" Mama Grace asked, surprised. "Cooking, or trying to. I am not very good. You will burn the eggs like that. Then show me. Teach me." And they cooked together. Sarah burned the first batch. They laughed. They made more, this time better. When Daniel and Joy woke up, they found breakfast waiting, cooked by both Mama Grace and Sarah together. "This tastes different," Daniel said. "It tastes like love," Joy said. And it did. The next day, they all went to the hospital together. The doctor looked at Mama Grace's tests and nodded seriously. "The tumor is there. It is not cancer, which is good news, but it needs to come out soon." "When can we do the surgery?" Mike asked. "We can schedule for next week, but I must tell you, the recovery will be hard. She will need care, rest, help." "She will have it," Sarah said firmly. "All of it." The surgery was scheduled. Sarah took 2 weeks off work. Joy and Daniel organized their school schedules. Auntie Blessing cleared her calendar. They all made plans, real plans, not just promises. The morning of the surgery, Mama Grace was calm, almost peaceful. "Are you scared?" Joy asked, holding her hand in the hospital room. "A little, but also grateful." "Grateful? I almost gave up. I almost let that loneliness kill me. But instead, it woke you all up. It brought us back together. So yes, I am grateful." The surgery took 4 hours. They all waited, praying, crying, hoping. When the doctor came out and said the surgery went well, they all collapsed with relief. Mama Grace spent 3 days in the hospital. Every day, someone was there. They brought her favorite food. They read to her. They played gospel music. They just sat with her, not needing anything, just being there. When she came home, the house was different. They had set up her room nicer, new curtains, a more comfortable chair, a small TV so she could watch her gospel programs. But more than that, the feeling was different. Daniel gave up his game controller for hours each day to sit and talk with her. Joy taught her how to use YouTube on her phone properly. Sarah came every single day, even if just for an hour. And they did not just visit, they listened. 2 months later, Mama Grace was recovering well, moving slowly, but getting stronger. One morning, she woke up to find the whole house decorated. Balloons, streamers, a banner that said, "Happy Birthday, Mama Grace," the real celebration. "What is this?" she asked, confused. "Your birthday," Sarah said, smiling. "The real one, the one we missed. We're doing it now, better late than never." They had invited everyone. Uncle Joseph flew in from Abuja. Uncle Solomon came with his family. Church members, friends, old neighbors. And there was a cake, a big, beautiful cake with "We love you, Mama" written on it. When it was time to blow the candles, Mama Grace stood in front of everyone, and she cried. But this time, they were happy tears. "I want to say something," she said, her voice shaking but strong. Everyone went quiet. "I almost left this world thinking nobody cared, thinking I was invisible. But you all proved me wrong. You showed me that people can change, that families can heal, that it is never too late to fix what is broken. I forgive you all of you, and I want you to know I am proud to be your mother, your grandmother, your friend." The room exploded with applause, with tears, with love. Life was not perfect after that. Of course not. People still got busy, still had stress, still had bad days. But things were different now. Sarah called every single evening, not to ask about dinner, just to talk. "How was your day, Mama? How are you feeling?" Joy kept her promise. Every Saturday, they went out, sometimes to the market, sometimes to the park, sometimes just walking around, talking. Daniel set up a YouTube channel for Mama Grace. She posted videos about cooking, about life, about faith. People watched. People commented. She made friends online, other grandmothers, other lonely people who felt seen through her words. Mike made sure she went to all her doctor appointments, and he sat with her during them, asking questions, taking notes. Auntie Blessing visited every Sunday after church. They would sit for hours, drinking tea, laughing about old times, and they celebrated everything, every small thing. Mama Grace's first time using emoji on her phone. Her first video hitting 1,000 views. The day she could walk without pain. Everything. 6 months later, Mama Grace sat in her favorite chair by the window. The sun was setting, painting the Lego sky orange and pink. Joy brought her tea, not because she had to, just because she wanted to. "Here, Mama, your favorite." "Thank you, my dear." They sat together in comfortable silence. Then Joy asked, "Mama, are you happy now?" Mama Grace thought about it, really thought about it. "Yes," she said finally, "I am happy. Not because everything is perfect, but because I am seen. I am heard. I am loved for who I am, not just what I do." "We almost lost you," Joy whispered. "But you did not, and maybe that is the point. Sometimes things have to break before they can heal." From the kitchen, they could hear Daniel laughing at something on his phone. Sarah was on her way over. She had called to say she would be there in 10 minutes. Mike was bringing Chinese food for everyone. The house was full of noise, full of life, full of love. And Mama Grace, sitting in her chair with her cup of tea, smiled, because she was not invisible anymore. She was home. But really, it was just the beginning. Final message. Sometimes we forget the people who gave us everything. We get busy. We get distracted. We take them for granted. But love is not just a feeling. Love is action. Love is showing up. Love is seeing people really seeing them and making them know they matter. If you have a mother, a grandmother, a father, anyone who has loved you, call them today. Not to ask for something, just to say, "I see you. I love you. You matter," before it is too late, before they disappear, before the only thing left is regret.